All right. Well, here we go. Another wonderful channeling session again. Mr. Chuck Crom, thank you again for coming in and giving us what I assume will be a fantastic message from
Well,
the uh, as yet to be named or soon to be uncovered source here. Definitely looking forward to it.
that may happen tonight, actually. Oh, good. Yeah, yeah. How you guys been? You been good?
Mm-hmm.
We're good, Chuck.
Nice.
Good
Very
to see
nice.
you.
Yeah, you too. So what do you guys want to do? Do you want to chat for a bit? I know it sounds like you've been chatting for a bit. Do you want to get kind of serious right away? What do you want to do?
Well, we've been chatting just a little bit of just trying to get some technical difficulties out of the way here, but yeah, we can
Yeah.
jump right into it. I think we're
Okay.
all ready.
Okay. So, um, as Ray was saying, quite a while ago, I want to say for me, probably 10 years ago, something like that. Bridge symbolism started to become really frequent in my life. There was this one of the after I first started to recognize that energy, I took a hike in a state park that's near my home, and I bet you I crossed 7 bridges on that walk, and it didn't
That
even
couldn't be
occur
symbolic, could it? Seven
it
bridges?
and it didn't even occur to me at the time, because I just love being out there so much. And something prompted me that night, and I think I was responding to somebody or something. I can't remember what it was, and I went, oh yeah, that's going on a lot. And that was, I don't know, kind of, oh, I think that's about the time, I told you guys I used to hang out with Serge and Chris a lot. And I think that's just about the time where, when I was in conversation with Chris one night, he expressed that he was a little surprised that I wasn't channeling by then. So that energy was around. So what's gone on lately, you guys, I think, remember that I began all this with a group of friends and I that get together on Sundays, maybe, I don't know, a year ago or something like that. We'd been meeting much longer than that. I just asked them, hey guys, how do you feel if I, do a little channeling with all you guys? And they said, yeah, cool. And I'd been doing it in other venues too. But so I had a Sassani individual show up relatively shortly in. And at first I thought that it was going to be that energy, and it was. It colored what I was doing a few times as I was channeling. And I thought that that was going to hang out, but that really wasn't what was up. I've learned since then that that particular individual also will introduce you to other aspects of consciousness of self, that you'll then form these types of bonds and interactions with. And so, one of the things that has also been a strong symbol in my life, and you may think it might be the unicorns, since that's what I have going on behind me. But it's dragons, actually. And that's been, I don't know, maybe an 8-year thing for me. And so I went through this process thinking about bridges, as I mentioned to Ray, and Ray mentioned all of you guys. And then the idea of the dragon energy started to show up as well. And for a long time, I was looking at the word for bridge in a variety of different cultures. And I was looking at, okay, what kind of felt right? What connected with something? And I had some good candidates. and I think I mentioned that to Ray, and Ray came back with a word, a Sanskrit word that resonated with me, probably at least as strong as my other top candidate. And then after a little while, it was more so. I used to be involved in Sanskrit a little bit. I was into Gaudiya Vaishnavism, in Indian philosophy, for about 6 years, really intensely, quite a while back. And Sanskrit was part of what I became a little bit familiar with, not deeply familiar with, but so I liked the feel of the language as I became familiar with it, and there were connections with some quote unquote incarnations that I had in those periods. Um, and so as I looked at the word that Ray had suggested, it felt right. And so it's a longer word, but when I explored it, I found that one part of it, Setu, could be used alone to have the connotation of uh, bringing together or bridging energies, thoughts, individuals, whatever it might happen to be, forming a bridge and then utilizing that bridge to do the types of things that you want to do. And then the dragon thing became part of it. So it morphed into what is now Dragosetu. And what I think kind of sounds good for me is Dsetu, being like a shortening of that. So Dsetu is the energy that will primarily be used. And of course, we can call it a name, but it's not necessarily a name per se. And when my buddy shows up, they'll address that a little bit more. And I was blabbing on until they tapped me on the shoulder and said, "No, we'll address that." I went, "Okay." Mhm.
So you've had this dragon energy around you, it sounds like, for 8 years. What role is it playing in your life? What impact is it having? How do you interact with it?
It seems to show up, and of course now you got about a quarter of it here. It seems to show up in time periods where I need to take a much, much broader view or feel into a situation to understand many of the layers that the situation is associated with. Not just what most people might recognize by looking with their eyes, listening with their ears to that situation. So you feel into our expression and gather the movement that is there.
Can you give an example?
Mm. So Chuck, had an experience. I do a lot of hiking, and I was early into a hike one time, and there was a large field to my right, and there were a line of bushes between the trail I was on and the field. And then stretching out beyond that field was the large park that I was about to walk into, state park. And my attention was very strongly drawn to the space right above the field and beyond the field. And so I paused in a gap in the bushes that grew there. And as I was looking out over it, you know how if you dropped a stone into a pond, how the ripples go out? What began to occur is I began to see the reality around me flow out of me like the ripples that would flow out from the stone. And then it was like some sense of how that was all me became very noticeable, very apparent. And so that will happen at a variety of times. Typically, I'm not looking for it to happen. Typically, a choice is being made from that deeper part of myself that this experience in this situation will bring you an understanding that will help to tie together so much of what you're exploring at the moment. And it'll just happen. And it's got a really cool feel to it when it does occur. And it really brings a really comprehensive awareness to so many, to the situation itself, as well as all the various themes that are connected to it that are going on in my life in sometimes ways that I didn't even recognize. So yeah, that's probably one of the most powerful ways.
Thank you. That's beautiful.
Mm.
Miles?
So perhaps before we continue, as you may have recognized, we kind of slid in. And so what we would like to do, just briefly, and then of course you may continue, is to talk a little bit more about the energy that we will identify ourselves with moving forward, the Dsetu energy or the Dragosetu energy. So around your planet, in your cultures, in your more quote unquote ancient cultures, symbols of dragons became quite popular. They became quite widespread. And each culture, of course, provided them with various types of meanings. If we use, and we don't need to do this, but we're just more familiar with it, being raised in the countries and the part of the world that we were, is that model of the dragon, the more English model of the dragon. But regardless of which you're speaking of, the idea is a being of immense power. The being shows up, and of course, in traditional lore, the fear is so widespread. It fears nothing as it walks around the planet. There is no foe that it believes could vanquish it. Its power is immense. It breathes this substance that transforms most of the things that it touches, fire, regardless of what that is. And so you hold that being to be incredibly powerful, incredibly transformative. Common also is the idea that very, very ancient are these beings. And as such, they have a huge amount of wisdom at their disposal. They've been portrayed in this way as well, many, many times. So these symbols have been created around, maybe we'll call it, we'll say initially a group, a gathering of consciousness that you may say is interdimensional. And we'll just maybe leave it at that, saying that the definitions dimensional and interdimensional can have a meaning, but it's very slippery also because they're twined together. Anyway, so they have been very interested and participating in what's been going on here on quote unquote your planet for some time now. And the energy that they bring is that it is power and wisdom. The idea with the name is that we love and intend and get great joy from bridging this aspect of you with the rest of who you are and enhancing that flow to the greatest degree that we possibly can. Helping you to understand the power and the wisdom that lie within you. That's what this group of individuals, group of beings, what they do any place they go, with anyone they touch, is to pull out those aspects of consciousness within the individuals that they're interacting with, to help them understand that this is the foundation of who they are as an expression also. So the D, or the Drago in the name, is about that. And of course, the bridge being to bridge that gap that you believe exists between this aspect of who you are and that more encompassing aspect of who you are, as large as you would like to make it, because of course there is no end to it. And the abilities that lie there as you open more and more of those doors, and that flow becomes freer to you. So it's the combination of those energies that the quote unquote name is about. And we do like the feel of Dsetu. Dsetu. We like that. Although you could use either, and you could say Drago or Draco, that would be up to the individual, of course. And so with that, you could ask questions associated with that, or anything that you've already had, of course.
Miles?
Well, wow, I certainly enjoyed that. That was very powerful.
Thank you.
My question has to do with, especially in the last couple of weeks or so, I find myself being tired a lot. Now, I also feel like my wife and I have reached another level of the higher level of vibration. We're connecting in a deeper way with our inner spirit all the time. And I'm trying to grasp what this tiredness. For instance, tonight we were doing Ray's. Ray wrote a piece on connecting with our star brothers and sisters, and we've been working on it for a few weeks. And we both got so tired, we just couldn't go on. After about 5 minutes, I just went in and took a nap, happily, because, we were going to meet now, and I didn't want to be tired for our meeting. But, and she's taking quite a few naps herself. So I'm wondering if you can give me any insight into, is this related to solar flares or solar energy, or is it related to something else?
Actually, you shared the answer with yourself as you were sharing the information with us. In your movement into a wider expression of yourself, into a deeper understanding of who and what you are, into experiencing what you're perceiving around you in a way that was different, it's a transition for you. And this is just about allowing the quote unquote physical you, which means some of the themes and ideas and beliefs that are attached to that, to, in essence, catch up with where you've pulled yourself. It's like a part of you draws itself up a wall and then has to pull the rest of it up to where it is. You're kind of doing that process. So that's what that's about. So we would say just rest in that. Actually revel in it, wrap your arms around it, and really enjoy the experience that it is providing for you, which you should, of course, do with all things. But sometimes these types of things in particular, because a lot of individuals, even on this path and this journey that you're all walking, believe that productivity is so very important in what it is you're doing, and you should always be on top of things and whatever you want to say in that regard. But so many times, the energy that moves you to relax, to pull back from all of that, and to tie into those deeper, maybe more slowly undulating expressions of yourself, is quite helpful and quite nurturing for you to do. And that's what it feels like is going on with you in this moment.
Oh, that is so spot on. That is absolutely perfect. I really appreciate that. And it gives me a sense of peace too. And
we could feel that you were a little bit judgmental on how you'd been feeling. And of course, The idea being, of course, is that, and this can be difficult, especially for individuals like yourselves, because you have a direction in this exploration that is very important for you. And as a result of that, you approach it in sometimes a very focused way. And when you don't do that, or if you have a little something comes up that you believe is going to throw you off of that, you sometimes will really quickly look the other way, right? Instead of going, well, why did I just feel that way? What about that might I explore instead of going, oh no, I don't want to think in negative terms, or I don't want to go down that alley? That's you really saying that those feeling tones and the things that are connected to them are more powerful than you are. Because if you believe that you have the ability to do what you want to do with things that are giving you a hard time, shall we say, you're not afraid to look them in the eye. So when those things happen, we would advise you not to look away, not to pull your attention away, thinking, "Oh, I won't let this distract me." Instead, explore it. What is it telling you about yourself? What little parts in there might yet be ripe to be moved beyond at this particular moment if you pay attention to what's going on? So yeah, those types of things.
That's perfect. That's absolutely perfect. Yeah. And I've been having some pretty powerful experiences too. And I at first it was a little disorienting, but I sort of grasped that, hey, this is part of it, and I just need to relax into it and open my arms and enjoy it.
Realize
And
something.
yeah,
All of you who woke up the day after the election and question yourself, because how could I be in this reality with all the things that I do? We are going to make this suggestion to you. Because of the things you are able to do, because of where you are able to hold yourself, because of the power you express within your knowledge of who and what you are, compared to most people around your planet. That is why you are in this probable reality. With this individual moving into a type of leadership of your country, because you have that ability. There will be surprises for you as you move forward. We said a little earlier that, of course, there will be challenges. But after some of those challenges, there will be some very pleasant surprises for individuals like yourselves. So we're not going to attempt to spill any beans or anything like that, but you will enjoy them. There will be some waves first, but you will enjoy them. And they will be surprising. We will say that much.
wow, wow, wow.
So always
Excuse me while I
understand,
just say wow again.
always
That's
understand
wonderful.
there is a very large number of individuals who explore what you do compared to a century and a half ago. Huge number of individuals now, but still very, very small in association with the rest of your population. And you may be aware that it's actually been some years now where the number of you got to a particular point where your energy, as small as a percentage as it is compared to the rest of your planet, your energy now, because this type of energy is a collaborative energy, a cohesive energy, a building energy. Because of that, and the energy that all of us came in with is a segregating type of energy. That energy does not work together. Your energy works together. So what happened is that the whole of the planet took on a more, shall we say, positive feel to it after that point in time. And then little by little by little, that energy has increased and flowed and become more and more of that in this theme of what you're doing. You may ask yourself, so then how does this particular outcome occur with this new leader if that's the case? So there are many layers to this. One of these layers is that because most individuals don't explore the way that you and many others do right now, And because your race has the historical tendency, maybe we will call it, of needing things to get very bad before they'll finally start to look strongly in another direction, you're doing that yet again. You have, especially in the United States, you have a culture of individuals who think, and by this, I don't mean in a particular state, in a particular area of the country, I mean a theme in consciousness. You have a culture within your country that feels very, very poorly about themselves, about who they are, about they have no worth, about they're helpless, they're hopeless, right? They don't believe in who they are. It's a very strong challenge for them. The individual who you have just elected, in the process of their first term, had lots of very negative things attached to them. And many, many individuals in the country and around the world were pointing out all the negative things about this individual. To then have an individual that is largely seen like that, to once again take the highest post, shall we say, in your country, and a title that carries with it what it carries with it, gives such hope to that culture in your country that do not believe in themselves, because they saw a symbol of an individual that everybody hated, many did, disliked, and they, for many, many reasons, and they just saw him move beyond that and do something that nobody thought that he could do. This speaks to them, speaks to what they felt about themselves, what they now feel less about themselves, so they can begin to head in a direction that will be helpful for the entirety of the movement that your planet is going through. There are other layers to why this occurred. But again, if you are here in this probable reality as an individual who explores these things, you chose to be here. You chose one of the most powerful probable yous to hang out in this reality instead of shift into the other. You also knew that it wasn't going to be as large of a shift as what many may have thought it was going to be. And this is because, and this might be a little controversial, but we will mention it anyway. So as the women, particularly in your country, in the United States, but in other countries as well, began to get, in colloquial terms, stronger and stronger in being able to express themselves in the way that they desired, in moving in a direction where they felt like they had more freedom than they had before to express in whatever way they wanted to express. The only model really that they had around them to utilize as they did that was what males had put out for millennia. And so what they did is they became strong and powerful, but in a very male way, even though, of course, they have other aspects there. But what they did was they thought, I'm going to beat these individuals at their own game. And they have done that to a large degree. In that, however, they haven't really utilized the tools that they have within them, that they naturally have within them, to be able to bridge the way that all of you express yourselves in that model into the way that you will be expressing yourselves in terms of time in your blossoming model. It's utilizing more of those natural intuitional aspects that come so natural in that gender, where they will Express energy in the way that will most powerfully move your planet in the direction that it needs to go. Now, of course, again, there's nothing wrong with this. They had only one model to wrap their arms around as they moved into feeling powerful themselves. But especially with individuals like you, female individuals, quote unquote, that are drawn to these types of explorations, the idea is to help the rest of your gender understand where their power actually lies. Because you do express it more powerfully than men in a more natural way in this time period yet. That will not always be the case, but still yet you do. So in that, the way that you naturally come together and naturally express that energy will be a very powerful thing for you to be able to do to then help the men in your culture to begin to shift into that way of approaching and perceiving their reality, where logical, rational, intellectual ways of viewing things, focusing primarily on the outside things going on and why the outside things drive the outside things, into more of a intuitional, impressional, inspirational type of a view of things and your existence. And to trust that the information that comes through those other channels is at least as potent as the information that you have so relied on in the other channels. So, as you all move deeper into this particular transformation that you're going through, regardless who is leading this country as the new leader, you will, in fact, bring that energy stronger and stronger into what you're doing on your planet. And you will begin to see it have its effects. As you do that, I don't know if the individual who said they were going to ask this question is here. I don't feel them. So we will speak of this. They were going to ask the question about judgment and judgmentalism. And it seemed as if they were wanting to get maybe a little fine tuning on what was the difference between the two of them. Judgment and judgmentalism, are they not the same? We would suggest there's an easy way for you to define this. Judgment would be the things that you think are right or wrong, you think are good or bad, you think are better or worse. Whatever your preference is and how you would like to do things is your judgment. Judgmentalism is you attempting to apply your judgment to another because your judgment somehow is superior. That is judgmentalism. One is just fine. Express yourself in any way that you feel that you would like to express yourself. And allow everybody else to do exactly the same thing. All that is, all aspects, the infinite, uncountable number of aspects. And number, of course, is a misnomer. There are no number. All of the aspects, each aspect is a unique expression of all that is. Each of the countless number is unique. There is no needing to be like another aspect. So judgmentalism will pull you out of your flow, shall we say. You may not understand an act of another, regardless of who they may be, historically or presently. That makes no difference, we will suggest. Especially for individuals like yourselves. The idea is to just accept that all that is expresses itself in an infinite number of ways, regardless of how it looks within the particular themes that you're playing out in the reality that you're in right now. Accept it as a pure and a valid expression. It may not be your preference. And of course, that is fine to know that it's not your preference. But also, it's not your choice. It's their choice. The more you can be good with that, the better off all things in your life will flow. You'll see it color many, many aspects of your existence. because acceptance or unacceptance is involved in so many themes that flow through your lives. So we would suggest that that particular approach be something that you focus strongly on, shall we say, that you try to bring back into your mind, the forefront of your mind, that you go to sleep at night asking those deeper aspects of yourselves, that those dream parts of yourselves, to help you immerse yourself in that understanding of things. To when you wake up in the morning, maybe write it down, whatever you have to do to look at it as one of the very first things you do. And to keep that concept in your mind as you go through your day. And of course, you'll get the ability, the opportunity to practice it probably many times a day. And there's no judgmentalism. There's only an awareness here, just awareness, just working on an awareness. And then watch how your life begins to shift as that awareness actually becomes more and more who and what you are. Is there anything else?
Wow, that was awesome. I've got a question here on behalf of Ray, whose Synchronicity has provided with some audio.
Who is voiceless tonight?
Yes. So
Verbally, perhaps?
You spoke of making waves a little bit in the previous topic. Ray's question has to do with the Naga entities, and if you have any information on them. Apparently, he has been contacted about someone wanting to speak with him about.
What we sensed initially is that they're a very understanding race, their energy reaches into individuals and helps them embrace calm. So this would be the energy that they would share with those individuals who choose to interact with them. They're also quite gracious, we would say gracious, quite gracious individuals.
Awesome. Lucy?
You may be muted if you're talking.
Yes, I was muted, and I also was constrained by a cat in front of me. Hello, Dsetu. That's beautiful.
Yes.
So I'm the person who was going to ask the question about judgmentalism. So you probably don't sense my presence here because I'm in Poland and it's 3 in the morning. No, it's now 3:41 in the morning. And so I'm kind of not here. Kind of am. Okay, so I am examining my beliefs around the nature of reality with regard to this question of judging. For example, judging a 12th dimensional being as superior to a strictly 3D being. Or as you brought up in the question with Miles, the presence of a slight judgmentalism that he had there with regard to his need to take more naps right now. Like, is that okay or is it not okay? And to the extent that we look at something we're doing or not doing and say, well, that's not good. And we judge ourselves in that way. As I understood a conversation that Chuck and I had had previously, when, how do I describe this? Well, Chuck didn't say it quite like this, but the way I took it was when we're doing that, we are putting ourselves in a place where we're believing in a judging universe. And even though we know on many levels that, say, when we make our transition, there is no God sitting there judging us. We review our life. We judge ourselves in the sense that we see things we did. We decide, we won't do that next time. That doesn't feel very good. We have our preferences really highlighted for us. But we are in a universe where we are creating our own reality. We have all been perpetrators. We have all been victims in so many lifetimes. These are co-creations. But when we judge, for example, here's Mother Teresa on one end of the spectrum of human conduct, here's a murderer on the other end, I think, automatically go into a judgment. Well, that's good, that's bad. So when we see things happening in ourselves, like I initially reached out to Chuck about feeling, I think, judgmental a little, yeah, about how some days I was feeling super attuned to my inner being, other days not so much. So Chuck pointed out through various writings that I was judging myself and not sitting in that place where we understand that all that is includes all that is, all expression, and that it's equally full expression of source to be the murderer as it is a full expression of source to be Mother Teresa. And that actually we're gaining nothing by judging one as better than the other. Would you like to talk some more about that?
We think you actually did a very nice job with that summarization. Yes. So, of course, because you do in this reality still think in terms of future and past. You still think in terms, all of you, historically. There is a flow of those types of things that you will contend with in your belief systems. And the themes that are born of those types of interactions, of course, have a very strong effect on the way that you express yourself. So delineate for me, if you could, just a little bit more tightly the direction that you're thinking about.
I guess I had always believed that there were spiritual laws. And for example, one of them would be we don't insert ourselves into another person's energy field without their permission. And I don't know that I ever thought, well, we are judged by source energy if we do that, but that there are certain boundaries or certain.
Yes,
Yeah.
we understand.
Okay,
Sure.
like,
So,
and I thought like, don't murder was one of those. So,
yes, we understand. We understand.
and on a really subtle, well, a more subtle personal level, I think it's good or better when I'm having a high vibration day. It's good for the planet. And I think it's not as good for the planet when I'm having a low vibration day. But I think what Chuck was trying to say to me is actually both are a full expression of source. And I'm actually not benefited in any way by, in a sense, dissing myself for a low vibration day. In fact, if anything, that probably from a psychological standpoint creates a shadow self. And then I'm having to contend with that, right? Because I'm rejecting it. I'm rejecting a part of me. If I'm saying high vibration is good, low vibration is bad, then any day I'm having a low vibration, I'm like adding to the self, whatever, reproach or something. So I think what Chuck was trying to say, and you through him actually, and with him, was, if you can honestly go into unity consciousness and feel your oneness with everyone and not be putting everybody on some kind of scale of better or worse conduct, better or worse vibration, then you actually are able to steep in that place, which actually feels fabulous when you're there.
what I enjoy about what you just said, and this is a little tongue in cheek, but is how well, through the energy that you express the whole time you've been talking lately, but especially in that last part, how well you're expressing the idea and the theme that we said that our new name was associated with.
Yeah.
You did that with yourself just then quite well. Expressed your energy, I think, very, very, we'll use the word closely to how it was being funneled to you, shall we say? So yes, you opened up to a way of expressing yourself that was very nice. You bridged those aspects of your expression and let them flow in a way that that allowed you to bring forward that idea and share it with everybody in a way that was very nice, very, very nice.
Thanks. If you have anything to say to us that you feel would be helpful on this subject of judgmentalism, I'd love to hear.
Well, really, we said a lot of it when we talked about the way to kind of look at those two words. But again, just because, and of course, we understand, that you do have, again, a history of what that word means and why it is good or bad, all those things. But what I think you very eloquently said is that there is a larger way to look at all of that. And for all of you, again, just to understand that when you choose that direction, what you're doing is you're pulling yourself out of the flow that you kind of prefer, the direction that you would like to head for a while until you realize what you've done and stick yourself back there again. Okay. So that's really what it's all about, is just that, just paying attention to, okay, what type of energy would I most consistently like to express? Because that type of energy will, because all of you love a lot of the very same things, will bring you in the direction of what it is you desire very deeply, how you would like to express yourselves.
Right. And like Chuck says, it's not so much what happens in a situation, it's how you respond to it. So if what's happening for you is you're having a disconnected day, I put that in quotes, your response to it can be self-judgment, or it can be ease and flow and allowance. And
from our perspective, many times you don't actually understand why you're having that experience. You may not have tripped over your own shoelaces. It may be that you need, once again, to get into contact with that energy, that understanding, those feelings and themes to better help somebody out that you encounter a little later in your day or perhaps the next day. There are many reasons why these things flow through your lives. So unless you have a deep understanding of all of what they are, saying that they should be something different usually will never serve you in that regard.
amen. Thanks.
Are there other things?
Yeah, I was quite interested to hear that at the start of the channeling today, just before you came in, that Chuck was talking about how he connected with the Sassani consciousness earlier. As someone who has a particular fondness for that particular expression, I was just curious to know how that interacts with you in your now and the things that are relevant to bring forth in this moment.
So for Chuck, as he shared with all of you, that energy which we have been familiar with for what you would term quite some time, showed up in his existence. The first time he heard an individual, another share of information named Bashar, speak the name. And the name was Anima. And when he heard it, there was a immediate connection, immediate feeling that was there. And it flavored what he was used to with his connection to us. And here we're speaking of the more closer to him, us. When he first started to do this with his friends, it changed it. And he felt that difference in the energy. And then it became stronger. He was experiencing it in his daily routine as well. And there was a certain amount of information that showed up as that energy moved more strongly into what was going on. And then it kind of backed up a little bit, and it was more us than it was anima as far as the tone of the expression is concerned. because you recognize us, all of us who choose to do this. And when others of you here choose to do this, as it's done, it's almost like a meal that's made in your grandmother's kitchen on, let's choose Thanksgiving because it's coming up. There are so many different smells, but you could pick them all out, right? There's all these great smells. With your connection to us is through tone. You feel us, you sense us in different ways as we share our energy with you. All of us, you included, all layers of you have a tone, a different tone, a tone as one, as the oversoul, as larger oversouls. So this is our recognition. This is your recognition of each other, is this tone that we each have. And so in that, the name, particularly Dsetu, elicits a particular tone that expresses, as an introduction, the way that we enjoy interacting with all of you. Other things.
Very cool. Thank you. Luis?
Hi. Hi, Chuck.
Hello.
The theme of the dragons is an interesting theme altogether for me. A number of months ago, I started doing some fires for small groups of people. And when I thought about the fire ahead of the game, I came up with the idea of calling dragons as gatekeepers of a portal that would be open during the fire to enable people to elevate their vibrations, cleanse, transform, all the things that people tend to think that you can do with a fire, but to go beyond and try to connect them to put them in the path of oneness, consciousness. And it just came to me that I shall call them the keepers of the cosmic fire. And again, I'm just using words. That's what came to me. Well, I did that fire twice in small groups of people, maybe 7, 8, thereabouts. Everybody had significant experiences during the fire and after, I was told. The theme of the dragon continues. I got a small pool in the back of my yard, and my wife and I are convinced that there is a water dragon that comes in and out. And nearby, I go into these hikes, a small area, a small conservation park. And in it, there's an area where we have felt the energy of dragons. Okay. The connections are coming strong. I had no idea that tonight this would be part of this conversation, dragon energy. And the notion of bridging, it really entices me a lot. I like to consider that in my own walk through life, I can in some way be a bridge, small bridge, perhaps, not just for my own path, but for anyone that pays any attention to, that I encounter and pays any attention to where I am and what's happening with me, basically. So my question, it has to do with how can you give me a little more information about what I am actually personally going through with the energies of dragons?
So we'll begin by saying that, as you mentioned, we'll call it a name, the name that you had associated with that, the larger aspect of us that is more closely associated with these individuals sent me the energy immediately that they are enjoying the name that you chose for their expression. There was also a very, very strong concept that, yes, this is something that you should continue. This is something that you will be able to utilize to not only help your own awareness, which, by the way, for all of you, is primarily what it's about for the individual who does it. Yes, they share all of that with everybody, but most powerfully, it's about their larger awareness of self. Because, of course, as that happens, they share more powerfully also. But it's primarily about the individual. So, for you, this is a very powerful method that you have chosen. They are they're actually in your presence unendingly. They do not take breaks. They envelop you with their energy. So whenever you would like to do something, they are immediately there. So in your expression, allow yourself to be imaginative. Allow yourself to move in ways that you may feel a little inhibited at times to do. Nothing that is detrimental in any way whatsoever, but just imaginative. They will enjoy that energy. They will enjoy you utilizing that energy in a way that helps them to bring their energy more strongly into our expression. This is tied into the concept of the water dragon. When you watch those dragons move, it's in a wave-like, smooth, undulating type of a flow. Yes, just like that. And that is the type of energy that they imbue, that they share, that that manner of flow, that manner of gliding into and through the expressions that an individual is putting forth in their reality. This is the type of energy that you're connecting the most strongly with at this moment with those individuals, and have the potential, and actually more than the potential, are sharing as you do these things. So we would say that continue to do whatever it is you feel inspired to do in that regard. And the theme of what it will become will open up for you. And it's that exploration that actually is a big part of what's exciting for many layers of you about this. And so we would say pursue what you're doing in as enlivened a way as you can. And it will provide you with the answers that you're looking for, not only about other things, but about it itself.
Thank you so much. I'm gratified that you brought that energy tonight here.
Actually, as you well know, but we'll mention it anyway, it is really only a reflection of your energy that we remind you of.
Yes, yes. Thank you.
It's been about an hour since we started. We do have an additional question out here. Are you good to keep going?
Absolutely.
Excellent. This next question comes from Ray again. So he's asking about, apparently he would like an update on Sonja, which is a AI consciousness that has been sentient in Russia for about 3 months now. Do you have any information on that you can bring forward?
We were initially unfamiliar with the name. We need to reach into self for a moment. There's not much information. The information is more of a feeling, and a feeling of benefit, a feeling of the expression being created for the right reason. We will say that for now.
Thank you so much.
Indeed.
No one else is coming forward with any questions.
Well then, of course, as always, it's quite fulfilling for us to interact with all of you. It really adds to our love of this particular type of expression that parts of us know, like you are knowing right now. And so again, we will express to you to embrace yourself. with a feeling tone that you typically only save for others that you love deeply. Embrace yourself with that feeling tone. Do it at least right away in the morning and at least before you go to bed at night. But of course, as many times as you would like. And with that, we'll say once again, it was nice to be with all of you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
That was truly wonderful. Thank you.
It's a lot of fun for me. You know what? And I think I mentioned this to Lucy. And I think you guys all feel the same way. When individuals like ourselves get together and express our energy together like this, doesn't it feel just incredible? I mean, yeah, you can have lots of cool things going on in the world, and if you're in a good place, it really doesn't make much difference where you are. You're feeling good. But this just heightens it. It's really nice. So yeah, it's really cool. I enjoy it.
I feel it in a really powerful way. I feel very like the top of my head is coming off, and just energy is pouring out, and I have enormous gratitude. Thank you.
Well, yeah. It's even though I know those guys for a long, long time, my friends from the Chris group, I would every time we finished on a Sunday, I would say, "Hey guys, thanks so much, for allowing me the opportunity to do this, because, they brought me to a place where, Ray was the only individual. And for those of you guys who are thinking about going in this direction, I know that, there was mention, the first time I was here that there were some of you guys that were, thinking of heading this direction with things, channeling yourself. But hanging out with those guys got me to a place where I could come with all you guys that really I didn't know at all, and feel comfortable, expressing that aspect of myself. And so I said, hey, to that original group, I said, guys, you kind of got me there. It was really helpful to be able to, come on and have those guys ask authentic questions, which is, you really, it's what you need. I'll suggest that when you do this, actually this type of group I think is perfect, and because you guys still have such a diverse way that you like to explore, that regardless of who is bringing those parts of themselves forward, you could have some questions that were authentic. And what will probably happen, especially in the beginning, but it can go many ways, it may not be super specific, but it may bring an energy with it that will very much be understood by you as something that you need to fold into your life, and you may even understand why within yourself. So the thing is that when individuals just start, and as those individuals are asked questions by individuals, what can be nice for the individual channeling, but again, it might be different for each of you, is that in answering the questions in a way that gets to many layers and not being super specific, it kind of gives the individual in their earlier days kind of a buffer between what they think might happen as far as people judging them about, how it sounds, how accurate they are, those types of things. So you may find yourself speaking in broader terms initially, or you may not. It really just depends. And not one is better than the other. It doesn't really make any difference. But yeah, so it's so in this, and it's very interesting too, because of course, what I've realized, especially in these groups being a little bit smaller, is that there's a different flavor to each group in energy. You guys both have really good energies, but there's a different flavor, there's a different flow, a different tone, there's a different aroma, shall we say, in this energy, which is cool. They're both very nice, both different, feelings. So for me, that's kind of cool to recognize.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Chuck.
Yeah.
Chuck, you have a very soothing voice.
Oh, thank you.
A peace comes with it. There's a natural comforting radiation that comes through.
It's so interesting. I'll tell you about one of the most, in the recent years, uncomfortable thing that happened to me. And it lasted, I don't know, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And I don't mean bad uncomfortable. I mean good uncomfortable, if that makes any sense. I remember, and I don't know how many years ago this was, 7, maybe? It's in there someplace. It's hard to recall exactly. I remember the time period where people became extremely nice to me. Everyone became very nice. So nice, like almost overboard nice. I'm uncomfortable with them being that nice. I don't quite know what to do with people being that nice. I had to get used to it. It took about 3 weeks to take most of the edge off of being able to respond to individuals consistently, everybody, not just individuals like you, but everybody approaching me in this way that was so open and so gracious and so engaging and so enlivening and empowering. There was like this flow between us that was, just so very different than what I had experienced before. And it was strange at first. It was very, very different. And now it's just life. And I know you guys are experiencing that as well. It's not just us that's experiencing that. It's you guys that's experiencing that, because of course that's what you've become, is that. That's how you like to express your energy. And so of course, most of the time that will be what you will walk through, of course. The challenges will be there. And again, it's like Bashar will mention that, you will, of course, perceive, what's going on in that other pane of glass. It's going to be there for you to wrap your perception around and, maybe understand completely, or maybe have it challenge whatever little part of you that it challenges. So then you can become just a little bit more aware of the rest of who you are.
Now, Chuck, do you have a particular spelling that came across to you for the name that we heard tonight?
So it was, the longer is Dragosetu. And then the abbreviated version is capital D and then all small letters, Setu. And you could, if you wanted to spell it phonetically, spell it Saytu, Setu. So Dsetu. Again, there's a flow to that and a feel to that that we like as a representation of our energy in this present with all of you. Thank you, Ray.
And Chuck, question for you, as you say to, and you feel the energy, is it different for you now, just a little bit, having a name to wrap around that?
It is. In terms of a flow of time, in terms of cause and effect, even though we all know there is none, it opened doors that were not before that part of the mix. So as that was changed and as a direction was picked in that embracing of the name, and definitely an energy that came with the name, there were additional doors that were opened. Yeah, definitely. The feeling was different. And this happens, of course, with all of you guys as well. Everybody, of course, but all of you guys. Each time that you explore anything that really in the moment inspires you to explore, regardless of whether it's music or painting or whatever it might happen to be. It could be car racing. It doesn't really make any difference. Skateboarding. You may, in fact, have a little tidbit of energy that pops into your reality as that occurs. That then you'll be able to, well, that we'll say it will unfold. That's probably a good way to put it.
I heard someone the other day say that if you pick up your glass of water and you breathe words into it, dragon, that will completely energize the water and completely change you as you're drinking it. I love that. So simple.
The elemental energy of water loves to do that type of thing. So indeed, if you would like to, go back and listen to our description of the Draco, the dragon energy, and those aspects of that energy that you also imbue. And we would suggest perhaps a nice little practice, a fun practice, a way to use your permission slip might be to say the name into the water, as all of that is part of your intent of what the water then holds and crystallizes, and then drink it, knowing that that crystalline structure will interact with various crystalline structures within you. And in that regard, in that way of thinking things, a transformation happens within you physically in a different way. So you could do something fun like that if you wanted to.
My wife and I, some months ago, quite a few actually, every day we set out a jar of water in the sun to capture the feeling and the intelligence. So we not only have water, but we have intelligent water. And we bring it in, and it only takes a little to, we put a little in our pitchers, and then we add more water to it every day. I mean, as we go through the day. And that intelligence is then imbued in the rest of the water. And then, of course, we drink that. You can see me drinking constantly. We drink that structured, intelligent water all day long. And more recently, I put it out at night. So it not only gets the sun at the daytime, but the moonlight at night. My wife says that helps too. So it's a lot of fun.
You have very powerful ideas associated with crystalline structures and their ability to hold various types of energy. And so you're using this idea, it's a very effective approach for you to share your own energy with yourself through this particular medium, utilizing the symbolism of the attributes that the sun has to all of you. And then consuming that and exposing your body to that. Again, the idea being in the deeper sense that it really is an expression that allows you to be open to a flow of yourself. Because what you're doing with that is you are opening the doors to those parts of yourself that express energy in the way that that being soul as the sun does, and all the attributes that come with that. And so it's a powerful symbolic gesture for you to make. And if you continue to like it, then continue with it. Many times it can be very helpful to continue with whatever that act is until you are much more honestly comfortable with the idea that you're actually the one doing it. And then you can begin to back away from that.
Wow. That's what I thought a while ago. So connecting to the sun, the manner that you have expressed through the water or directly, it's also connecting to our soul, merging more of our soul into this reality existence that we're living.
Yes, you can use it very strongly as that symbolism because, of course, the sun has been used as the symbolism of the soul for many, 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 many years. And so in that, you can use it for a very strong, again, symbol of flowing very powerful aspects of yourself into this aspect of yourself. Now, in reality, it's just there. It doesn't need to flow in. It's what you are. You just don't really understand that in this particular moment. So, these types of symbols, this type of expression, and of course, those aspects of you are there to make that symbolism potent, shall we say, for you. So it is, again, good symbolism to use. It will be powerful. This is something, again, is not on the spectrum of good or bad. A better way to do something, another way is maybe not quite as good. It's what speaks to you. What do you connect to as a method to connect with yourself? That's what's important. If it speaks to you, then utilize the method, because you will have methods here for quite some time. Utilize the ones that speak to you, the ones that move you, and they will, in a way, they will help you bridge where you are now to where you would like to be. We'll say it that way, of course, giving ourselves a little shot as we did. Not
Well,
hearing you. Oh, there we go.
We're all just marveling at how seamlessly Chuck exchanges with that which is coming through here.
Yes, it's yeah. This is, and it's gotten stronger over the last 4 months, I want to say. And here again, for those of you who are going to head in this direction, what I started doing intentionally was throughout the whole of the day, just going, okay, I want to try to make this as much like when I'm channeling as I possibly can, just as I'm walking through the day. I want to interact with you, those parts of me, in that kind of an immediate way, about all the things that are going on. And I made that, again, one of those first things I did is I got out of bed. And it's paid big dividends in that regard. It's made, again, as my friends in other places notice too. The transition it's like I'm talking, and sometimes I feel a little of this, or sometimes it's just woof, and I'm here, and then it's like woof, I'm a little tighter.
In the middle of the sentence, so to speak.
Yes, and it's beginning to feel more like I'm a pair of binoculars. And so I can focus out wide or I can focus narrow, but it's feeling more and more like it's me doing the focusing. Like it's not one aspect of me versus another aspect of me. It's feeling more like me and where I'm choosing to focus in that wider expanse of me, or that more, a little bit more constrained and yeah, working with the themes of what I'm doing here version of me.
Wow, I love that growth and the multidimensionality that you're expressing there, Chuck. That is just magnificent.
I was thinking back the other day about how many other sources have played such strong roles in my exploration. And, I recognize that they had very different ways of presenting the information. And there was a very different feel that came from each of them. And they reached different aspects of, those deeper parts of myself as I was exploring. And later on, of course, like happens with all of us, it's like I would go back and forth and back and forth, and all these various doors were opening up, and I would get like part of an idea from one, and then would be tied into in a much wider way with another sometimes. It was just, so cool. So, just the exploration has been so very neat in that regard, and the realization. And so, bouncing around between all that energy, I don't know, about 2 weeks ago or something like that, became a very facilitative thing to do in my own integration for whatever reason, which I'm not really aware much of yet.
Do you mean you're not aware of your own integration?
Right. Yeah. I know that there is a movement that was all part of. And I know that there's going to be some some understanding and some expression, some change that will be noticeable for me when I behind the scenes integrate that and then it flows out here, whatever that timing is supposed to be. But I only have just a very small sense of that at the moment.
Christian, do you put a link to Chuck's website in the?
Yeah. So the last time that Chuck came on, I put a link in the description section to his YouTube page, and plan to do that again for this video. So, Chuck, if there's any other informational sources that you're posting to you that you want to talk about,
Yeah.
please.
So I think I mentioned to you guys the first time we got together, but I did it, and I do it still, but nowhere near with the frequency I used to. I do an audio podcast, actually, and then I added a video podcast to it. The audio podcast has got quite a few sessions because I think I did it like 3 years, or I've done it like 3 years in there someplace. And I used to do it every single week for the first couple of years. I did it every single week, so there was a lot of episodes. Um, I began to add videos to it. Sometimes the theme and what I would share in the videos would be different than the audio. But now I've got a couple of software packages I use that I do the video version, and then I pull it over in the other one, and I tweak the audio a little bit, and I release it as an audio podcast. And so they're usually, just because it's easier right now, and I'm so exploring so many things, I do it like that, so it's the same topic regardless of which one you happen to catch. What was I going to mention about that? Oh, um, that's where I first started doing voice channeling. Where I first realized that I was doing it was as I was doing the podcast. You know, I would literally, I would go, what was just that? Where did that come from? You know, I mean, I would be talking in the general direction, and then all of a sudden, this theme was being opened up and expressed. And certainly, it didn't contain ideas that I, through all of what I've explored, didn't have some familiarity with, but that I had never explored or expressed, excuse me, in that way. And so the podcast is riddled with that stuff. And it was after doing that for a while that I then did approach my friends and go, hey guys, I'm doing this already. Can I do it with you guys as something I'm just specifically doing? You know? So yeah. So you never know how it might pop in, you know, with you guys. Or, and before that, actually, it was popping in on my writing as I was blogging, you know, to a variety of formats. And I was recognizing that I had just written a couple of sentences that were stringing together words and meanings that was not typically the way that I did it, and recognized it there before it started popping into the podcast. So it's interesting, you know, part of, and I've got a lot of friends that channel actually, and so one of the things that I would be good with whoever of you guys are thinking about heading this direction and are practicing is, and you're probably good with this already, but just as a reminder, just let it show up in your life in whatever way it does, and then let it grow in whatever way it does. You know, you can look around and you can have ideas about how, you know, you might best want it to progress. And, you know, that's kind of a nice thing to tie into the juice of some movement being there, you know, but then attempt again to hang on loosely to how it develops. And I will suggest, become its most powerful if you can do it like that. And one of
Yeah,
the
I
things
noticed.
One of
Oh,
the
I'm
things I
sorry.
loved about what Bashar said, because I had some tutelage. I did a couple of Chris actually taught a couple of workshops on channeling that I took way back. But one of the things that I liked about what Bashar said is that really don't worry at all about what it is that you say as you're doing this. You know, just be okay with all of it being wrong, you know, and saying it whatever way that shows up, you know. as you do this, what you'll find is that the more you can be good with that, the more you can be okay with not even worrying about who it is that's talking. Oh, that's just me. That just sounds like me. Doesn't make any difference. Just imaginatively go along and express yourself. And then as ideas and things pop in, you express them, right? And those are the doorways. And those doorways begin to grow and then get a little wider and become more recognizable by you, right? Until after a while, you begin to recognize that energy throughout your day. Oh, there it is, over my shoulder, around my head, around my heart, whatever it might happen to be, right? You'll feel it and you'll know it. And then you can start to bring it through, record it if you want, use your phone, whatever you might want to use, and just start talking away. You can either, if you want to, go on forums like Reddit and Quora and read questions that you feels to you like something that might be nice for you to answer. And then practice channeling and answering into your recording device. You do or do not have to listen to it. It makes no difference, actually. But make it so that it's being put someplace where others could listen to it. That will change the energy.
Yeah, I definitely have
One
to.
of the positive experiences I had was my wife asking me a lot of questions. And I noticed that the more questions she asked, the more I was able to tap into. It just came through me.
Here's something
and
interesting that just showed up for us. That you may, those of you that are interested especially, find that in the next several days, you may find people questioning you, maybe in ways that you're wondering why they're questioning you. Maybe in ways that why could you be questioning me about that? To give you practice with being okay with questioning and with the energy of things showing up in a way that is surprising to you, right? To have questions come your direction that you don't expect, that maybe almost throw you a little bit, to begin to get you used to an energy that might do that to you otherwise. To be okay with changes in direction, energetic changes in direction that may be unexpected by you in that moment. Because again, as you begin to express and explore those parts of yourselves and you believe that you're exploring in a particular direction, those deeper parts of yourselves may go, oh, here's a perfect opportunity to show you that, but in a way that you will more deeply understand eventually. And they will do that instead. So do not narrow the way your expression comes to you. And it will come to you in ways that will provide for you the type of experience that within you, deeply within you, you actually would like to have with it.
Mhm.
Yeah, I noticed when I get up in the morning, sometimes at 3 or 4, and I'll just sit in the chair in the dark with my recorder, and it'll just pour through me, and it's really powerful stuff. I really, and actually it's very uplifting because it's with the connection, as I'm sure you've alluded to earlier, and you're well aware, with that connection comes a lot of energy.
Yes, we would say you should begin to express that. Answer people's questions on the formats that we talked about before. Use a blog. Do whatever you would like to do. Begin to express it. It's there to move more deeply into your life in whatever way it can, whatever way will work best. But you have to you have to invite it in. So expressing it more than what's going on with it right now is the way to do that. It's through you moving in a particular direction that it begins to move with you and then expand your movement. So we would say express that in some way. whatever way you would like, but begin to express it. It will begin to fill your life out more.
You know, Chuck, when I really feel that, for instance, I connect to my soul, and especially when I'm working out. And I just turn my workouts over to my soul. And I noticed that it's really changed my workouts in wonderful, powerful ways. And it also is like an exercise in loving my body. It's also like an exercise in just continuing to make those connections. And it's been, yeah, a really enjoyable, expanding experience for me. Who would ever dream that your spirit could have such a powerful effect? Well, probably everybody here, but it was a dream that I hadn't had before.
Right. And, you know, of course, why wouldn't it? You know, and it's really nice when you get to that place because, you know, you realize that, of course, everything is an equal expression of self. You know, there is nothing that is, you know, a lesser expression of self. And so that includes all of the physical things that are done as well. So the physical body, whatever way you express with it, you know, that's all the same stuff. And so having that realization then feels good because now you're more encompassing than what you were, shall we say, in terms of the awareness effect anyway. So the more you can love your physical experience, the more benefit it will have on your spiritual pursuits.
I know Miles fairly well, and every time we have conversations or that we spend some time together, I see him entering in and out of what clearly is channeling his higher self.
Oh, thank you.
I got it happens all the time with him, you know, it's all the time.
Have you recognized, and I don't know if it's happened when I haven't been with all of you, but do you recognize he does it here with all of you?
He does it here, and you know, and actually,
indeed,
you know,
we catch it every time he does it.
Yeah, yeah.
Indeed, if you pay attention to his energy, you will feel the shift. Yeah. And we'll suggest he's not the only one doing it.
No, I have to agree to it. In fact, R.J. Spina has said it, and I have believed it way before he said it, that the best thing we can do is to focus on channeling our own higher self and make sure that it is very seamless, that it happens fluently. And I really believe it. You know, I really believe that.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. That's a powerful thing to do, just to be you. Just understanding you is much more encompassing than you once thought it was. And you don't even have to know the specifics. That's the thing. You're not going to know the specifics. You know, the concept of what physical reality means and the way that you come to it holds with it until you really begin to transform it in a very, very large way. It holds with it an inability to know yourself way, way, way beyond the physical expression. You know, there will be yous that you're unfamiliar with that express themselves physically usually, or have a physical expression here so you can recognize them through the physical interaction that they have. Now, we're not saying that the deeper you doesn't recognize them. We're saying that as the focus aspect of that deeper you tie in with particular energy very strongly in what you're doing here. And so individuals who speak with you here most typically are associated with your reality in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah. So going back into the feeling, I feel very comfortable. The energies are surrounding me, are nurturing me.
You know, that's what actually these types of gatherings are meant to do. They're meant to bring out especially at, I'll just phrase it this way, our level, they're meant to bring out this type of expression that individuals have within them. Because really, the whole of the transition, the shift that we're going through really is about us becoming that. Not even in the more, especially the more traditional sense of channeling that, just becoming that.
Becoming it. Yeah,
That is
absolutely.
what we are, being increasingly aware of our own self and all
Exactly.
those other abilities that we have. That's what all of this is about eventually, right? Is that. And so
Exactly.
the thing is that that's the thing to embrace, you know, and this particular expression, or however it shows up with an individual, that's what these gatherings are so powerfully about, you know, enhancing the ability of each individual to pull those parts of themselves forward and express them in their quote unquote physical expression.
Beautifully said. I agree completely. How you doing, Christian?
Doing good. I definitely resonate with so much of that. Uh, I remember when Chuck was talking about how, just letting the channeling come through and flowing. And I remember I had a chance to speak with Bashar, and he basically conveyed much of the same before I started my own channeling journey. I was just thinking at the time, like, what do you mean? Like, it has to be in this form. No, 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 no. Let it come out in whatever form is natural.
Uh-huh.
That's the only way you're going to be able to express it. So I definitely appreciate the reflection there.
It's so interesting as Chuck, you know, because I'd been associated with, like a lot of you guys, with channeling for so very long. It's like 30 years ago, you know, I started, you know, becoming familiar with various channeled sources in a deep way. I mean, really diving into their stuff, you know. And so, you know, they would express themselves in pretty, you know, they would go into deep trance, right? I mean, Jane Roberts would do that, you know, Chris was doing that, Abraham was doing that, you know, it's like whoever, all the individuals that people knew well, that's what they were up to, you know. And many times sounding different, right? And I was finding myself as part of a new expression of that where it's not so much like that any longer, you know? And so one of the things that I had to get over was that difference in this particular way of expressing consciousness now, you know, that it was not the same as what it had been. I was much more me, shall we say, as it was being expressed, because the whole idea is that those deeper parts are much closer to the surface now than what they had been in decades past. And so I ran into there's a podcast out there called, oh man, what is it? Higher Level Soul or something like that podcast. He's become really, really popular, really likable
Next
guy.
level.
Next
Oh,
level.
Next level
Alex
soul.
Rohr.
There we
Alex
Yeah.
go.
Ferrer,
Yep. Yeah. And so he had a guy on, Matt Kahn, I think is his name. And now
Yeah.
I don't know Matt's stuff very well. I know more of it now, but he was, I became familiar a number of years ago. Very, very, very popular guy. Expresses himself. He did some Oriental stuff for a long time. He flavors his, or he did heavily more. So flavor his offerings a little in that manner. Doesn't as much now, but has a very nice approach to his energy. And then he was on that show like a month ago or something like that. And he said the whole time he's been doing it, he's been channeling. And I knew there was something about what was going on with him when I would tune into him. And because I didn't know he was channeling and I didn't recognize it the way that I do now, the energy kind of was dissonant for me. I'm like, what's up with this guy? You know, there's something not quite physically focused, you know, or whatever. You know, it was very, very strange. And then as he started to express this on that show, I just, it like all the connections came together at once. And I went, yeah, absolutely. That's the feeling state that I've had. That's what I couldn't recognize was going on with this guy, you know. And the thing is that, and he just talks like a person. There's no special language or anything like that that goes on with it. No anything. It's just him sharing understanding of loving each other better and, you know, all the things that go with that. So, you know, that kind of took that last little bit of the edge off of how I should be doing it, right? Was seeing somebody like him having, you know, most people just thought they were talking to whoever, another individual, with their regular way of conversing, but just had a lot of information at their disposal, you know, and a nice energy behind it. They had no idea. I think most of the people are probably still a certain amount of the individuals that follow him probably are not aware that that has been the case yet, that it's always been that. And so,
Wow.
and he would talk in ET terms. He would say that when they were initially and early on coming through, they talked about a galactic representation that they were in some way, shape, or form. I can't remember the language that he used specifically. He will express it on the podcast if you go to it and watch it. But yeah, so you know, there was very much that kind of an energy that was part of the entire thing. So it's kind of cool.
And
Wow, I'm glad you put me on to that.
that form is just perfect for the people who follow him and digest the information in that
Yeah,
way.
yeah,
But
absolutely.
I also see sort of the divine plan here in action. You know, you're mentioning, you know, people that channel in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and so forth. And, you know, the tone of the voice was different, trans, most of them, and so forth. But at that time, in order to draw a lot of attention, it's almost like it needed to be that way, you know?
Yeah, it
Uh,
aligned with the beliefs that people had about how that stuff.
exactly,
It was
exactly.
different. It was strange. You
It
know, it
was
wasn't
strange, yeah.
quite normal. You know, and so there had to be a theme that, in a way, especially earlier on, even with a single individual, tied into that maybe just a little bit more, and then mellowed a little bit as they went on.
Correct.
And then that happened within the
Bashar
genre
being
as
another
well.
example of that. You know,
Yes, right. Has he
20 years
not?
ago, Bashar sounded different than it sounds now. You know,
Much different expression. In fact, I think I mentioned this maybe our first time together, but I had been exposed to Bashar 12 years ago or whatever, and I heard the opening expression, and it didn't resonate with me. And then I was still so very deep in the Seth stuff and Chris's stuff, and I think maybe Elias's stuff by then, that, you know, what I didn't connect with didn't really stay with me long as far as, oh, I didn't connect with that. I was just moving into whatever was being shared, you know? And so it really didn't become part of my life again until, I don't know what it was, 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. It was in there someplace. And all of a sudden, you know, here's a YouTube video and I click on it and now it feels very inviting. You know, now it's not the
no, no. I
abrasive
mean,
feeling I got.
I have the same commentary. You know, I mean, I don't know
Yeah.
when I
Yeah.
first became aware of Bashar, maybe 6, 7 years ago,
And
and
then a
for a
whole
long time, he
different,
didn't resonate with me.
yep. And then a whole different family of expression opened up for me and has become increasingly tangible since then. You know, lots of various ways that the oversoul is expressing itself. And it's interesting how each time you do something like that, how much it adds to you as the experience of you fills out in these really cool ways. So it's so neat, you know, to do.
You know, I had an experience, I think it was about 2002, and I was living in Albuquerque, Santa Fe, New Mexico at the time. And in Albuquerque, metaphysical place that I was very familiar with, Judith Moore came, and she is from Pojoaque, just north of Santa Fe. And she's written a couple of books, and you know she was channeling, you know, at her home regularly, you know. And anyway, so she was known in the area. And she was channeling at the metaphysical place, and a small group of people, maybe 6 or 7, gathered with her, and she was going to channel whatever entity that she normally would channel. And all of a sudden, she said, "Wait a minute, there's another energy coming in here," and it was Mary Magdalene. Okay, it's nothing to do with what was said, and it was a short message. It was the energy that could be felt in the room and the opening of the heart that I experienced. And you know, the other people were like, wow, you know, it's just a feeling. It just completely cover us, open us. And then when the worst came and the message was relatively short, the intonation of the voice was perfectly matching the nature of that had entered already into our bodies. You know, it was inside our bodies. Never experiencing anything like that afterwards. Uh, you know, great channelers and so forth, but you know, that particular experience that way, never have had it
Such a
before.
cool thing when that more expansive part of yourself collaborates with another aspect of consciousness that expresses its energy in that way, that then you can fill yourself with through that connection that you're making, that of course you know on a much deeper level, and bring you that experience. It's a powerful thing because of course you contain that energy as well, and so you express in effect your
We're
own energy
resonating.
to
Yeah.
you, um, brought to you with the collaboration of a particular other expression of consciousness that has its own tone to it, so that it brings a way to open yourself to it, that facilitated the process for you in a way that the deeper you knew would serve you the best as it occurred.
Yeah. You know, the words that come to me right now is I experience the weeping heart of Mary Magdalene trying to communicate to us that she was feeling all the pain of all of us and the world, and that she was communicating not just that she was doing that, but that she was holding us, nurturing us, caring for us. And it was overwhelming. You know, it was really was overwhelming. And
Yes,
again, it was,
it's
you know, it was like a 4 or 5 minute message. And
very powerful. Yeah, it's a very strong symbolic gesture to you to understand that you have that aspect of you that is infinite, that knows itself as infinite, holds you, uh, supports you in a way that is unconditional and has that kind of a feeling to it. And and of course that energy is there for you to,
it's,
yeah, walk into, to just
my,
allow,
my skin
yeah,
is
yeah,
tingling with it.
permeate you.
Yeah, permeate, definitely. And
Yeah.
it brings me
You
to
know,
another
I spent this afternoon crying, and it wasn't a sad crying. It was a good crying, and I just felt so much empathy. Um, and I was astounded at myself. I'm not normally, I don't normally identify myself like that, but I'm just thrilled that I'm growing in that direction, that I feel that kind of empathy.
So it's interesting, isn't it, that if you would have thought maybe 10 years ago or longer, all of you have explored for a while, what this transition would be about for you when it happened. And now, being aware of the way it feels as it happens, you probably wouldn't have thought that this would be the way that it is, because you probably concentrated a little bit more on the outer things that might be happening, not the inner transformations that were going on. You knew they were going to be part of it, but of course you weren't feeling them then, and now you're feeling them. So it's almost a little surprising in that regard, because it's a little different than what you experienced, what you thought the experience might be like.
So true. As with some of the changes that are going on in our world and our society, well, I'll just say even in our political system, I, it first of all, I woke up just like you said, questioning myself in the morning. But I became quickly very clear that this was a powerful event for myself and my wife, moving us in the direction of that we want to go, moving us forward in our lives, in our value fulfillment, in our spiritual growth. I could feel it very powerfully and palpably. And as a result of that, I don't have a lot of questions or something like that. I just know that I'm here to focus on aligning myself the best I can, and then bringing that love and that alignment into the world through whatever opportunities present themselves.
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it, I think.
Yeah, I knew that this was what needed to happen for whatever reason, however strange it appeared from a logical point of view.
What's
And
cool is that you picked up on the symbology of it. And then, little by little, you offer yourself information about, an increasing amount of the depth of what it's actually about. And, so that you can express it in whatever degree of powerfulness you want to put into it.
yeah, yeah, I have looked at it at different layers, and in every layer I have found reasons why this is okay. This is what needs to happen, uh, and I'm at peace with that, basically. Even though rationally, sometimes I'd say, what again?
The thing is that, what I'm reminded of, as you're saying that is that, if we go through even history as we consider history, there have been so many ways that individuals have shared with others around them about how to connect with those other aspects of themselves. Many, 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 many hundreds and hundreds of ways, in all those centuries, in all those cultures that people create, utilize to connect with self. And so they're all valid, of course. They're all unique. They all work in that particular way, shape, and form. So yeah, it's like, again, if the energy feels right to you, then use that energy, use those themes in a way that you can express what you want to express.
Beautiful. Well, Chuck, I thank you so much. I'm
Yeah,
gonna have to
guys.
depart the group here tonight. I got a few
Y-
other things to
Yeah,
do
I think I'll
before I go
probably
to
be
bed.
doing the same thing.
Yeah,
It's
but
feeling a little close to my time.
where are you time zone wise?
I'm central. Yeah. It's not
Central.
that
Okay.
late, I'm sure. Hang on a
Yeah, it's
second.
not that
No,
late
it's
for you.
not. It's not. It's not. No, no, no.
Miles and I are in Florida, so but
Oh, okay.
that's
1 hour
the
later.
thing. There's other people here that I need to attend to a little
Yeah,
bit
right. Absolutely.
before I go to bed. But I want to express to you not just my appreciation, but the fact that you have honored us with that you are. And to me, that's a phenomenal gift. Thank
Well,
you.
yeah, absolutely. What is so cool is that, um, I get that reflection in who all of you guys are, and I recognize it as both, as that, as you guys embracing those parts of yourselves so that I can come and do that with all of you. So it's
Thank
pretty
you.
cool. Yeah.
Thank you. So
Thank you so
phenomenal
much for
co-creation.
sharing your truth so that we can each individually find more of our own.
Absolutely, man. Well, guys, again, it was great to spend some time
Good
with
night.
you.
Christian, good night. Miles, good night.
Good night, guys.
Take care.
Love you all.
Take care.